Welcome to It's a Slate of Mind with Alison Haselden. This is the entertainment industry's video podcast where we spark honest, unfiltered conversations within the community about things we're all thinking about but don't talk about enough. I invite you to join my circle of friends, both new and old, as we tackle the industry together. What is up, guys? I'm Alison Haselden, and you are listening to episode 4 of It's a Slate of Mind. Today, we are tackling the subject of patience. Patience is a virtue that is really difficult to master. I know I can speak for myself, and I'm sure many of you when I say that, but we're going to talk about how it relates to this industry in particular, as far as auditioning and callbacks, struggling with feeling like there's not a role out there for you yet, as well as just how you approach your entire career and your mindset towards, whether you're pursuing an acting career or you don't know what you're doing yet. Patience is a key component to making that process a lot smoother. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about how to say fuck 'em. You'll figure out what that means. We talk about Jason Momoa and ridiculous amount. So you'll hear about him too. And I'm very lucky to have my good friend and a great actor on to have this conversation with me today. Our guest is Austin Freeman. He's been working in the Atlanta market for several years now. He's done voiceovers, he's done commercials, he's done TV and film. You might have recently seen him this winter in The Mule, which was directed and starring Clint Eastwood. He had a supporting role in that film, and you've also probably seen him on your TV screen several times over the past couple years. So super psyched to have him on the show, and he shares some incredible insights regarding his journey thus far in the industry and some of the things that he's learned. So let's dive right in.
Cool. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Austin Freeman. I'm an Atlanta-based actor. I've been in the business. I started when I was about 16. I first started in the theater, so I came up in the theater for a multitude of years. Started in my hometown, Hartwell, Georgia, so Northeast Georgia. There's not much there but a lake. Lake and my family. It's the most important thing. And so I started in a small community theater there. Had some friends that were involved in the show. I got invited to a show by a girl that was a friend of mine. Ended up just falling in love with the theater and like sort of the collaborative process and like creation, and found that I was pretty good at it. And so I sort of, just synced right into it. It was really nice. So from there, I continued acting in community theater shows. I was about 16, so I started in high school theater, like our high school theater program at that point. The high school drama teacher, he came and he saw one of the shows and asked why I wasn't in his class. I was like, I don't know, why am I not in your class? So I ended up joining right after that and did shows. Started going to like theater conferences in high school, and just really fell in love with like the community of actors and like just like what the theater was and like the power that it had. It was kind of cool. So I ended up getting a scholarship to go be in a theater program at Young Harris College. It's a small liberal arts school in North Georgia in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Beautiful setting. I had thought about going down to like South Georgia to Valdosta. They've got a great theater program down there. And basically a rep from the college came into my high school and he just kind of scooped me up and said, he said, come up to the school and just sort of take a tour. Nice. And so I went up there and I actually missed the scholarship day, but I went in, set up an individual interview with the leader of the theater at that point in time. He's the head of the fine arts department or something. So I went in and did an audition with him and with the guy who was in charge of all the technical aspect. Okay. And they offered me a scholarship, and then the school offered me an academic scholarship. So it's pretty good. Very expensive to go there because it's a private college, but I was able to get good scholarships and took out a few loans. So not crippling debt, but some. But yeah. Right.
As we all are.
So still working on that. That'll take a little while, but. Yeah, so I was involved in the theater program there for 4 years, and it was a small program, so I got a lot of stage time. Was able to really sort of like stretch my muscles a little bit and sort of learn, this from the beginning processes of like casting and understanding like character development and sitting down and like analyzing the script and doing table reads and like since it was such a small program, everybody was involved in everything. Oh, nice. And we all helped build sets, and I was like our master electrician, so I did all the lighting for all the shows.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it was like
so you got to learn like the 360.
Yeah, basically. And it was actually cool because I really enjoyed the lighting element. For me, it was like the two things that really brought the production together and like sort of were the magic of the production were like, okay, you've got your acting, you got all your rehearsal process and all that kind of stuff, which is cool just for grinding and figuring out the show and figuring out blocking and all that. But the parts that really brought it together for me and really like set the stage, pun intended. So
it's not funny at all.
I know. Sorry. I apologize. I really don't apologize. You suck it up and listen. Was when costumes came out. So whenever we got our costumes and you can walk around in your shoes, I think is it Robert De Niro? I think he likes to rehearse in the shoes that he's going to be wearing.
I've heard that too. I don't know if it is. I don't know. I don't remember who
there's one famous actor that that's his favorite thing. Or maybe I think it's Dustin Hoffman. I don't know. It's one of the greats. And maybe you guys should look it up and check me.
Regardless, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, and it was cool just because you can get the clothing on, and you can have the jacket, and you can learn how to place your hand in your pocket, and walk, posture, and it changes your posture. And if you got shoes on, and for ladies, if you got heels and all these kind of things, like it changes everything, that element. And then when you turn the lights on, and then you have the filter of the colors, and you have you drop in like patterns through gobos and this kind of stuff, and it just creates the world. Like those were like two of the most magical times. And I'm like, okay, we have a show now. Yeah. And it's not just lines and just something that's static and on a page.
Takes it from like a staged reading or like to Shakespeare in the Park to
an experience. And that was always kind of cool to me. And so it was cool because I was able to use some of the lighting experience to actually do some work in the industry after school. So that was really nice as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, so
then after college,
from college, I started doing summer stock theater. And so for those that don't know, summer stock is basically low-paying, fun professional theater for young budding actors or actors of any age. Because we had actors all the way up into their 70s that were on the show. And so I was able, and for a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, it was really awesome because I ended up, I went to a theater conference. So there's like these two rounds that you do. You do Georgia Theater Conference, which is just the state. And then you go and you audition, and it's like a very, very quick cattle call like audition. And you go in and you have 60 seconds if you're doing a monologue and 90 if you're doing 16 bars of a song and then a monologue. And so you go up and it's just, you say your name, whatever your number is, number 71. Hey, I'm Austin Freeman, number 71. And as soon as you start talking, they start your time. Oh, yeah. And so if you go over, they'll stop you. And you just have to give them like a preview of basically what you can do. If they like you, then they'll pass you on to the next round.
Did you just do Georgia or did you like SETC?
Well, and like if you qualify at Georgia, then you can go to SETC. Really? So I qualified at Georgia, and then they pass you on to like the Southeastern Theater Conference, SETC. And then at that point, you go into a room, and it's generally like a banquet room at like a hotel. And you go in, and there's at least 100, maybe 200 casting directors for regional theaters. And that's all along the Atlantic seaboard, the Southeast, down into Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, like all over the place. Cruise lines, all kinds of stuff. And so you go up and it's the same thing. It's just a rapid fire cattle call audition. You go in groups of 20, boom, one goes up, boom, one goes up. And you come in, you got to play to the back of the room because there's 200 people in this giant room. And you see them all and you freak out a little bit. And I don't think I've ever been in a more nerve-wracking audition in anything. I would say that's actually one of the most high anxiety inducing auditions I've ever been in.
Yeah. I would say that's, I don't know. You've never auditioned for Disney, have you?
No.
So that's exactly how anyone who's ever auditioned for Disney, that's the exact way all of it is. It's just a room.
Cattle call.
When I first auditioned, there were 450 people there. Okay. So same kind of thing.
Okay. And they bring you in groups and stuff as well?
Groups, and then they'll do smaller groups or like one-on-ones.
Okay,
it depends on what it is. If it's like a vocal thing versus like a mass like character audition or something. Sure. That makes sense. So, but yeah, it's the same kind of thing. Where
dance call and all that kind of stuff afterwards. Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, there are so many people here. It is. Yeah. So what made you do the switch then out of that theater track that you had been on? Well, because now Austin doesn't, you still can do theater and stuff. Yeah. But that's not your focus anymore.
Yeah. No, I'll do, sometimes I'll do theater. So for me, I decided that I wanted to make acting a business, and it's kind of hard to do that with theater sometimes because,
Yeah.
first of all, like I love theater. It's like theater for that reason. It has this sort of classic element that it transcends time, and you can
Right.
constantly do it, and like you have a level that you have to hold it to as far as accountability,
Yeah.
because thousands of other people have done this show before you, and thousands of people will do it after you,
Yep.
and it's sort of the baseline of what people are taught. And so that's really cool, for the artistic quality of it, and for understanding character, and especially like
Sure.
period pieces and things that are
Yeah.
beautiful, like
Oh,
pageantry
yeah.
costumes and stuff like that's really nice. But the theater rehearsal process is really long.
Yep.
Well,
it can be.
It can be.
I would say I don't know about you, but like I would do 2-week rehearsals and then like 3-month runs.
Yeah, and like
So like that I think is like
that, and that's a higher level. Like you got to be on your stuff. You got to like you've got to be ready when you come in. You got to be off book.
Yeah.
And like sometimes people just aren't, and that slows down the rehearsal process sometimes.
Yeah. I would say I feel like if you're doing like professional theater, it is quicker on that end.
Yeah.
Unless of course you're like originating a show and workshopping it and all that. But yeah, like traditionally, just for the bulk of the theater experiences you will find, it's not that tight of a ship.
Yeah, it's not most of the time. And also there's the other element besides like the time commitment. There's the financial element. Most of the time, theater just does not pay that well,
and no one, and not even like on the administrative side. There's very few people who are making the
unless
money.
unless you're just like unless you're on Broadway, then you have somewhat. Even then, like any like equity contracts are just they're on the lower paying end, and it's just I just decided I didn't really want to be a starving artist.
Yeah.
And so I've always tried to hustle in that regard because I don't like having to struggle through and like constantly worry about, can I pay rent? Can I afford groceries this month?
Why should you?
Right.
Like,
and so that's kind of my mindset.
Yeah.
And so, and that's the thing is, if you book a good film gig or commercial gig or whatever, it'll pay what you would make an entire year in theater from one day of work. And so that's
absolutely.
And those are few and far between sometimes. But yeah, I've always loved film, and I really like with television. Television has like really blossomed again, since like, I guess like 2006 or 7 or 8 or something, like somewhere in there. Yeah. And so just seeing that sort of revive, and then seeing beautiful shows on, and just like these amazing characters that, that's the goal, is to like be able to create a character and like play throughout the whole run of a show. Right? Oh yeah. And then get to have like that through arc of, like you get to tell this character's life over however many seasons or years or whatever.
Or if you're lucky enough to be on This Is Us, through like their literal entire life.
Right. Yeah. All of it. Right. They can do it all. And so it's stuff like that. And there's also, because I love theater, and I love the communal aspect of theater. And like, I've had some really like beautiful, like transforming moments on stage, and I like playing off of the audience and all that kind of. There's a vibe.
There is nothing like being in front of a live audience. Right. That is.
And so that's cool. But like, once the show's done, it's done.
Right.
And like, all you have are the memories. Done. Yeah, and it's done.
It's gone.
And so there is sort of a more lasting element to film, television, commercial, whatever. Like, you can go back and you can look it up and say, hey, this is what I've done. And you have something to sort of demonstrate and present from it, as opposed to just, I was in this show 4 years ago that no one cares about anymore, or they don't know about anymore, or whatever, because you have a playbill to show.
Yeah.
So I think like I just wanted to transition into something that I would be able to like live off of. And it just seemed like sort of the natural transition.
Sure.
So when I was finishing up the summer stock theater, it was right after I graduated college. So I did it after my junior year and then after my senior year. Same show. I got called back again for a second season and a larger part. And so I ended up moving back home for a little while, back to Hartwell with my family. And I was there, and I was taking classes, like acting classes in Greenville, South Carolina. It's about an hour away. And I ended up bonding with this really amazing teacher. I'm going to give a huge shout out to him because he's awesome. His name is Ron Joseph. And Ron has been in the business. I mean, he's been in the business for 50 years at least, I think. So Ron is an older gentleman. Ron, how old are you, in your 70s? Is that what it is? So, I mean, he's an incredible person and friend of mine, and he's an incredible actor. Yeah. And he's been in things. I mean, I've seen him in things since the 80s, and he's still working. He's an Emmy Award winner. Like he's an incredible actor and a great friend of mine. So I really got close with him, and I was doing some theater at the time, like in my hometown, and like doing some singing, musical theater, stuff like that. And he actually helped me get my first agent, which was really nice. And I was able to work a little bit, and I didn't know anything about film or commercial world or any of that kind of stuff. I didn't understand technique. I mean, so there was a lot that I had a learning curve that I had to get caught up on. But yeah, I mean, basically I was practicing with him like multiple times a week, like in class, and like we would help each other do audition taping and stuff like that. So we became good friends. And so I decided that I wanted to, because when I first moved back home, I was actually considering moving to LA because that's where you go, right, for film. And so I was living at home, and I just started hearing whispers and kept getting auditions for things in Atlanta. And I was like, oh, I'll
say this would have been like
2012.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. 2012, 13, something like that.
So that was like when I was quitting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Because when I was quitting is when like Atlanta was like starting to get big.
Oh, that's fair.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So I started hearing that, and I was like, okay, well, I mean, I might come try this for a while. And so I moved out here, I think like end of 2014, beginning of 2015. I don't even remember exactly when it was. I ended up staying with a friend of mine in Alpharetta. And staying with his family. They were very kind and allowed me to like just sort of
figure it out.
Yeah, and they had like 2 extra rooms, so I just ended up crashing in a room for like 2 months, like when I was getting my job settled here and all this kind of stuff and figuring that out, and then ended up moving into the place which I currently live. Ended up finding a great deal on that, and
he's a real estate agent.
Yeah, well, this is before I was an agent, sadly.
but anytime he talks about places to live,
understand the
I
market.
feel like it always goes through that list.
Yeah, right. So I was able to do that, and then it was awesome because I was with an agent. I had a manager here, and ended up signing with a larger agency here. Right. And I mean, it was crazy. I talked to my friends in LA, and I just asked them like, what's your typical week like there? What's your typical month like there? And they say, okay, well, I had 4 auditions this month or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's, like first starting out, I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's awesome.
Sure.
And I'm sure they're getting, good quality stuff. But then like, I just started noticing that like, especially when I signed with the big agency that I'm with. So I'm with Atlanta Models and Talent. I think they're the finest agency in Atlanta. Love all the other agents. I'm actually friends with many of the other agencies in town, but love my team completely. And they really take care of me. I really trust their judgment on stuff. And they know how to pitch me. I'm really good friends with all of them. And I think that's something that's really, really.
I feel like you guys have like a very well-oiled machine.
We do.
As your little unit.
And the thing is like they trust me. They know that I'm going to get good work and get it done on time and submit good work. And I know that they're submitting me for the right things, and I trust that if I haven't heard anything, they haven't heard anything, and like and even when things get slow, like I know that they're doing their job, and like that's really cool. So I got to plug them all the time, always will.
Winning combo happened in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, and like that's really, really integral to this business, is having a really good relationship with your reps, and just all being on the same page.
Absolutely.
And so that I started noticing that in comparison to my friends in LA, like their number of auditions, and like these are talented actors. They're I'm sure they're putting out good work. I haven't seen their tapes or whatever, but I'm sure they're putting in good work. And I noticed that I was getting about 10 times the amount easily.
Sure.
That they were getting. And so it was like, okay, well, I could move to LA, and first of all, there's the cost of living there is much higher than here.
So much higher.
And like, I'm not connected there. I don't have an agency there. I could try it. Right. Or you can really just dig in where you are, and like, I'm getting opportunities, and I'm booking out here, and it's like, it's working. And so it became a pretty easy choice for me, because I'm getting really, really stellar auditions out here, and like auditioning for things that my friends in LA, like they're blown away by.
Right.
And I may not book them, but I'm getting to flex those muscles.
And you get to put your name in the ring.
Exactly.
At least,
And like the thing is like casting directors here, they know you, and like obviously casting is always rooting for you, which is great. Like we got to give shout outs to all casting. They bust their ass for us, all the time. And I don't know if we can curse on this podcast, but
you can curse as much as you want.
Okay, good. Okay. So, and like, I have to give a shout out to them too, just understanding their side of the process, and that, they call you in for a reason because they think that you're the person for the job.
Right.
Or potentially.
And you win, they win.
Yeah, exactly. And like they've solved production's problem at that point. It's like, that's cool. And you want to keep that good relationship with them, and you want to keep presenting good work. And so it's like, okay, so casting here knows me, and the ones that don't know me yet, I'm being submitted.
Right.
And
they've seen you.
Yeah. And so they've seen me, and like eventually you're going to start, those doors that you're knocking on are going to start opening, right?
Absolutely.
So it just became like sort of a no-brainer for me that like Atlanta's the place where I need to be currently.
Right.
And that may change at some point.
Yeah, you never know.
If I score a big role somewhere, then obviously I'll go for it. But
but I mean, even so, like, I mean, I'm someone who, I mean, obviously, like you said, like you never know what's going to happen, but like ideally I would love to keep this my home base.
Oh, sure.
Even if like, I end up working in other places.
Oh yeah. And you can go, fulfill your contract in LA, New York, New Mexico, Chicago, wherever it's shooting, send me to Istanbul or wherever, like put me on location somewhere. Yes.
Please do.
Whoever's listening, we'll take those jobs. I'm not afraid of planes.
New Zealand?
Yeah.
Love it.
God, I was there in September. So good. So, I mean, that's cool that like you can have a home base here, and like,
and you can have representation out there.
Yeah.
And just, make it work, I mean, I know several actors who
do the same exact thing.
But they only were able to get their representation out there because of the work that they had built here.
Exactly. And so, and the thing is like, for the first probably 2 years that I was living here, I kept hearing, well, Atlanta is a day player market. Atlanta is a co-star market. Yeah. And I don't think that's the case anymore.
Yeah, no.
In some cases, yes, they're still pulling talent from the older markets, New York and LA.
Right. But it's not exclusive. Like, it's not like there's no chance of.
No, if you're right for the part, you're right for the.
So you've made Atlanta your home now, and now. You're like, you got a good thing going. He's got a really good thing going. He's very humble, so he's not going to brag, but like, homeboy is working, and he's doing amazing.
Atlanta's a good market. And the thing is like, what I've noticed is if your reps and casting see you consistently putting out good work, and I think it's just a matter of time before you're booking. And like I'm sure that's in every market, right? Yeah. But like
if you're well trained, you're doing what you need to be doing, and you're following all the instructions. Follow the instructions on your submissions.
It's pretty smart.
That is like the biggest thing that will fuck you over.
Yeah, don't self-cast.
Yeah, and if you have a good team, then you just have to be tenacious.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so, and I love Atlanta as a city. Like, it's like sort of like the cultural heartbeat of the South. And so like that's really cool because it's like, in my hometown, it's pretty bland. Like, there's not a lot of diversity there. It's just rural Georgia, and that's just what it is.
Just how it is.
And so like especially after college and after like just being around people of different upbringing, of different backgrounds, of different political leanings and faith backgrounds, and like different ethnicity and nationality, and like all this stuff all coming together, right?
Yeah.
Like, I really wanted to be around a community that reflected that.
Sure, that diversity.
Yeah, and so Atlanta is really cool for that. And so we have a lot of productions here that are opening up doors for people. And I'm actually really proud of our city for doing stuff like that, and I'm really proud of our producers for getting behind it, and I'm really proud of our writers for writing true stories that haven't been told before.
Yeah.
And like the thing is like, for
the fact that the companies are accepting the stories.
Right. Yeah. And so like people are getting behind it, and like, for my type, I'm a white man, and so for me, there's always
Really? Whoa!
Gotcha. So like there's always been roles for my type, right? And there always will be.
Sure.
And so it's really cool seeing like my friends who are different type than me getting all these really, really amazing opportunities to come and show their talent.
Absolutely.
Because they're really fucking talented.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm glad that people are having that venue to display that now.
Yeah. Oh, when we first moved here, the first time I was in an acting class here, my first comment, I mean, it was a great class and all that too, but the first thing I noticed and the thing I left being like, oh my God, wow, was that everyone in the room was different.
Oh yeah.
Like all the other fellow students there looked different than me. And I hadn't really come across that before.
Sure.
I had only taken class in Orlando or LA. And most of the time it was a room full of people who looked pretty similar to me or would be in very similar typecasts, you know?
Yeah, sure.
So I was honestly thrilled. I was like, and I learned so much more from watching their pieces that they were working on. And I got to see all kinds of different things and how they were being directed versus how I was being directed and all that kind of stuff. Anyway.
And there are shows out here that reflect that too.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, there's amazing shows that are being cast locally here that reflect like a completely different world than what I grew up in.
Yeah.
And like, that's really cool that these stories are being told now and they're being told really well. Mm-hmm. They're produced well, they're written well, like they're directed well, cinematography is great.
Stereotypical or farcical. Or...
Exactly. And so it's bringing truth to those stories and to those people. And like, that's really awesome to see that like people are really, really giving their heart and soul to these type productions. It's like, that's amazing. And we've got stuff out here that's Emmy Award winning and like Oscar winning and like amazing stuff.
Georgia
that, like,
does good work.
Do good work. And that's the thing is like, we're out here and we're laying the groundwork. And I think that's something that we can all be very proud of. Mm-hmm. And that we can all really, really like enjoy like reaping the benefits of that. And
absolutely. So today we're talking about patience. Mm. And so as you heard, Austin has packed a lot into his career so far. But it hasn't always been, so go. Just as it is for everyone, we always have peaks and valleys. And so I really thought that he was a great person to come in and talk to about this today because patience, I mean, I don't know about you, but like that is something I am working on every single day. I am very much like a go-getter. I like to be out there. I like to be working. Like when I'm working, I am so happy. So when there are those times when I have to be patient or I want to hear about something and I have to sit there and wait to hear about it or, the progress that I'm wanting to see is taking longer than I expected. Those are things that I feel like obviously just as human beings we have to work on, but in this industry more than anything, there's a lot more of that.
Sure.
So I wanted to ask you, what are some instances or like struggles that you've noticed that you might think are fairly similar with other actors or other people in the industry in regards to patience? What do you think is like one of the hardest things that we come across?
I would say probably one of the hardest things is just wondering when it's your time. And so, I mean, I have friends of mine that are consistently booking stuff.
Sure.
And there's one friend in particular, like this person they booked like 10 film and TV things last year. And like, I mean, they're working and they're making a living at it. And I know that they get frustrated because they're not a major recurring character, or they're not, major guest star recurring on like multiple shows, and they're not a series rag. And like, and I think that when it comes to that, it's just like wondering when is your time, and I guess like part of that is just sort of adjusting your focus and figuring out what it is that you want from this business.
Sure.
And like I don't have all the answers to this, but like for me, I enjoy the process, and I understand that in this business, just like in any business, it takes a while before you're really, really successful at it. And so I enjoy the fact that I get these amazing opportunities almost every day to like exercise my craft and like to get better and to know that. And I mentioned this earlier. I think that as long as you are consistently putting out good work, eventually your role is going to come along.
Right.
And like the thing is like in this business, like in every other business in the world, and this is, in my general understanding of things and what I've experienced from being in other businesses as well, effort equals money, right? And so, when
or
you're
reward of some kind.
Reward, yeah, like
whatever that
recognition,
is
acknowledgement of some sort, right?
Yeah.
So when you go and you punch a clock, your effort there turns into dollar signs, right?
Yeah.
And so, and you'll see like in comparable businesses, so like say that you're a doctor and you go through medical school and you come out and you've got $200,000 worth of debt.
Right.
So that's a mountain that you have to overcome, right? So, but most of the time, it takes doctors a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some 10 to 15 years before they're actually making a profit. Until then, they're just paying off their bills and just, getting residency somewhere and like doing their thing and like building up their practice and all that kind of stuff. And, if they're at a hospital or, have a, specialty or whatever.
Right.
So that's part of it. And so it's one of those things in this business where we expect to be like overnight successes. And I think that's unrealistic. And I think that when you see that happen to some people,
those very lucky people who,
that's like lightning striking.
Who was it? It was Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz.
She her first big audition ever. She got it.
So you see like the kids on like Stranger Things, right?
Oh man.
And I mean, first of all, they're incredibly talented and like they're present and they feel and they have all of the elements all coming together, right? And so you see that like they've done some smaller things, even before that, and some of them have done some nice things before that. But then they get this show and it's an amazing script and like all the characters mesh and like you have the platform like Netflix that it can come out on, because I don't think that Stranger Things would have ever made it on traditional network anywhere.
No.
And so you have all of these things come together. And like the way that I think of this business sometimes is like to really have something that is a huge hit and life-changing. It's like the planets aligning, right?
Absolutely.
And so,
absolutely.
And this is kind of what you have to think about with booking roles sometimes too, because first of all, you have to look the part.
Right.
And there are varying levels to even that one note, right? So you come in and you have a kick-ass audition and you have a kick-ass callback,
right,
and you gel well with the production team and director and producers, whoever. Casting pushes for you, your agents pitch you. And then, so you can just be a little too tall, or like your hair can be a little too dark,
or you don't look like your family member enough.
Right. You don't mesh with the other family member. Or
I don't know if you heard the story about Josh Gad. He was James Cameron loved him for this role in Avatar.
Okay.
And it apparently was like down to him and one other guy, or whoever the guy who was who got it. And but he walked out of his final audition thinking he had it.
Oh.
And James even was like, "I want this for you."
Sure.
And he ended up not getting it. And so Josh Gad to himself just thought, now that I've seen the movie and everything, I just would have looked like a fat Smurf if I were made into an Avatar. He's like, that's why they're all so long and lengthy.
Sure.
And it turns out that was actually the reason.
Wow.
Is because they ended up wanting them all to be these long and lean figures. Okay. And even though they really thought he was the best for the role,
it just visually it didn't work.
Visually what they were going to do, they had to go a different way.
And so this is a really good point for other actors to listen to, is that like you can be the most fucking talented person in the room and you just don't have the right fit for the show.
Right.
And like this is something that we have to tell ourselves constantly, because and like maybe this does tie into like patience, because I remember when I was first starting, like as actors, we put our heart and soul into these roles and we create backstory and we ground it into our lives, and we find ways to connect on emotional levels with the character and within the scene and all this kind of stuff. And you do this amazing audition and you have emotion and you whatever, and then you don't book it and you think, well, shit, should I keep doing this? Like, because it can be exhausting and it can be heart-wrenching when you like really like, I'm perfect for this role and like I want it,
and you know it, and you can see it in their eyes that they feel it too, and like
that you're talented and like that you can play the role if you're just given the opportunity, right? And so it's just like, but as actors, we constantly hear not this time, and I don't even hear it as no, like. But when I first started, I used to get so like just blacked out, and like I would think, well, okay, I'd be like so like excited and I like pray for it and like,
Sure.
like, like I think I'm right for this and like I'm ready and like I know I'm ready. And then like it just takes time.
Absolutely.
And not only that, but like you just have to think about all these other elements. Like sometimes someone's going to get it that is a producer's niece or nephew or whatever.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, the director and the casting director could love you, but if the people with the money have another factor in play, then the people on set with you are going to be overridden.
Right. And it's completely understandable that if these people are going to finance this production, they have final say.
Sure.
And like, you can't even be upset about that because it's one of those things. It's like, if they have the money and they want to pay for this thing, then they get to choose who gets to represent it.
Sure.
So, you get to this point, and I guess I've been doing film and TV since like trying to do film and TV. Let's get this in order because I've been auditioning for film and TV probably since like 2012 or 13.
Okay.
So, and I mean, that's been like 6-7 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm finally starting to see a little bit of the momentum coming, which is really, really great. I'm really, really thankful, and I feel really blessed to have that. So
there is momentum. It is spectacular.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be his hype man since you don't hype.
She can hype me. My agent's not here. It's fine. So, and like, that's one of the things is like understanding that this is a business and taking that into account when you're constantly hearing, not yet, not this time, not this production. We love you. And the fact that they call you in again means that they like you and they have faith in your ability.
And that to me now that I've gotten over that hump is like always just, that's the best compliment in the world. Like for me, a callback, the way that most people would celebrate like a booking is how I celebrate a callback. I'm like, oh, they like me. Like,
and like,
you
look at like just, okay, this is one of the reasons why I think that Atlanta is a very unique market, because just to get an audition, you've already made it through. I mean, like, you'll look at some of these like film and TV things and commercial stuff too, but like, you look at this and they'll have 20,000 submissions for one role.
Yeah.
20, like, I have friends that'll put up a short film and they'll have 2,000 submissions for one role.
Yep.
And this is like a low paying or non-paying gig, right? And it's just everybody thinks they can do it. And so just the fact that you get brought into the room or get put on tape or whatever.
Or that someone even sees your submission.
Yeah.
Like
if you just look at it from sheer numbers alone, it is astronomically insane to me.
Absolutely.
And so if you get to that point where you get the audition and you get a callback, you're in the top 10 most of the time out of 20,000. That is mind blowing. Just the sheer math of it. And then once you get to the top 10, then all the other stuff, you could have the best audition out of the 10.
And that's when all those other things really come into play.
Like I just auditioned for a thing yesterday. I went to a callback yesterday, and I can't tell what the project is, but like I went in and the character is for someone in their 30s, and I think I'm too young for it personally. But I went in, I worked well with they had another actor in the room with me that was playing the character across from me.
Okay.
Yeah, so my scene partner. And we had a good audition. We were talking with the casting director, the director, and one of the producers was there in the room, and they gave us really good feedback. And they seemed to really enjoy our take. And I don't know if I'll get it.
Right.
It's one of those things where it's like, I did my job. I had a good day.
Sure.
And like, I walked out and like, okay, cool. And like, I've gotten another audition from the casting director today. So it's like, that like they see like, okay, this person knows what they're doing, or like we trust them enough to bring them in on this project.
Absolutely.
And so it's one of those things where I made it to the callback, and will I book it? I don't know. If my agent calls me and tells me, I booked it. And I try not to judge my auditions. Like I just do the work.
Leave it.
You leave it. Yeah. And like, that's actually one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever heard. I heard Bryan Cranston say this one time that like, our job is to create a character, to give them a demonstration of the character, and then you leave that shit at the door.
Sure.
And like there was a teacher that I trained with for a while. He came and did some workshops here. His name's Ted Brunetti, and that's his thing. It's like auditioning is the job.
Yes.
Audition like that is the work. Like auditioning is the work.
Yes.
And so
so if you don't like auditioning, either you got to learn how to like it,
or get out of the business.
Get out.
Yeah, because that's what your job is.
Right. And that's our day to day.
Yeah, and when you get on set, that's when you get paid for it.
Right.
And then there's still the uncertainty that they might cut you out. You never know. So,
And Editors, be kind.
Yeah, please do. Please use my face. And so that's the thing too, because you can have an amazing audition,
Yeah.
an amazing callback, and then it could come down to something like, oh, he just looks a little too young.
Right.
Or he looks a little too old.
Right.
Or, like,
and you don't know in which
complexion is not quite right or whatever, it could be anything.
In certain cases, they will be willing to bend some of those things.
Yeah,
and
sure.
certain cases, they just can't, or they won't.
Yeah.
And you will never know a lot of those answers. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's very, I think the second you really understand that and internalize it and accept it,
yeah,
that aspect of the turmoil inside that a lot of people feel kind of disappears really quickly.
Yeah.
And I think the thing someone told me, or I was having a conversation with someone about this the other day, where, you just don't even know if the role that is going to be your role, like your breakout role, it probably hasn't even been written yet.
In some cases.
And so to me, like, I don't know why, but like that honestly makes me feel more peaceful inside, knowing that
that's actually a good point.
It hasn't been written yet, but it could be written any day.
And the thing is,
it's underway right now. So what you need to be doing is doing everything you can to be ready for when your role is there for you.
For sure.
And
like, that's actually one of the things that I talk about with my current teacher is when an audition comes out, and like, this is just something that, and like, I agree with your point that like, sometimes when people get to this point and they can let it go, it does relieve anxiety, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because we can be doing all the things right, and it is frustrating as shit. Like, we're out here grinding every day doing this kind of stuff. And so, like, and I've got some thoughts on this and like how to like not lose your mind and pull your hair out. But when it comes down to it, if you didn't get the role, it was never your role to begin with.
Right.
And like, you can call that fate or God or divine intervention or whatever you personally want to call it. I have my thoughts on it. But when it comes down to it, if it's your role, you're going to get it.
Right.
And that's awesome. And that's ready. And it's good to be. And if you don't get it, celebrate for those people who do.
Sure.
Because the cool thing is, and this is one thing that I do like about this market very, very much, is that here in this market, we support each other. Mm-hmm. We as actors support each other.
Yeah.
And I've never experienced this in other markets because I've never been in other markets, that there is like insane competition and like backstabbing and all that kind of stuff. And so the fact that there are a couple of guys that I go up against all the time. I see them at every audition.
Yeah.
And they're all my friends.
Yeah.
And the thing is you find out really quickly who the sort of the working like actors will be, like, that are in your type, because you'll see them all the time.
Right.
You'll see those girls in every audition. And you're like, oh, hey. And the thing is like, if I don't book it, one of them is probably going to. And like, I celebrate with them when they do, because like, that's my friend that booked it. And not only that, but it's like, it keeps the production here. I know that they're going to do a good job.
And help our reputation as a whole.
And like, not only that, but it's like, I want my friends to succeed.
Right.
And obviously, like, I want the job because, like, then I can pay my bills or whatever. Sure. Like, I can do that.
We'd all like the job,
Sure. And like, you want to constantly work. I love working. But if it has to go to somebody else, then that's awesome. I want it to go to somebody that I know is like an incredible actor
from here. And
and like, even if it goes to somebody I never meet, whatever, that's fine. But that's just cool to me when I see like, oh shit, I auditioned for that job and my buddy got it.
Yep.
And then the cool thing is, and like, this is interesting to me, is like I see this on film and TV a lot too. Like, I audition for the job and then I'll see it and I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that at all.
Yep.
Or like, that's a really interesting choice that they did. And I would have never come to that conclusion. And I'm like, oh, I see how that works in the story arc. Okay, cool. And like,
and you learn from that so much.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's just like, they took a creative choice and they ran with it, and it works well for that character. And and it's like, that's what's brilliant, I think that's what's brilliant about just how this is a creative business. And you can make a creative choice, and it can be the right choice.
Right.
And they can make a different creative choice, and it can also be the right choice.
Right.
And it was just so strange. It's art. Like, who's going to tell you?
It's all subjective. Like,
of course.
Whoever is the decision maker is going to be the one to decide which right choice is best for that moment. I definitely agree with you. And I can say from working in other places, I have been in those situations where, you're in the room with the same 5 gals that
Sure.
you're always in the room with. And in most cases, there would be like one of them who would be friendly.
Sure. And there may be a different dynamic with women. I'm not sure.
Sure. I mean, but I will say, like, since
I am a white man that we covered earlier.
True. Yeah. But I'm a white woman.
Yeah.
See, so it's no. I noticed. I mean, I have not been here very long, but just the vibe in general in classes and in auditions and in networking events and things is much more relaxed, much more friendly than what I've experienced elsewhere.
That's interesting. Southern
it wasn't for lack,
hospitality, I don't know what it is.
maybe, and it wasn't ever for lack of trying. Like I wanted to be friends with these other people. Like I was like, I see you guys all the time, so might as well be friendly.
Sure.
And there was just this very standoffish. A lot of times that's more of what it is. It's not necessarily bad or negative, per se, to like an aggressive way, just more standoffish kind of a thing.
And that kind of makes sense. Like, okay, when you're in the waiting room, it makes sense to like,
all the time.
Oh, this is all the time. Okay.
Yeah,
Because like when you're in the waiting room, it makes sense. Like people are,
yeah.
Oh God, I got to remember these lines. And
right.
like, here's my blog.
And that's different. I mean,
everybody has
I'm
their
that
own way
way
of
too.
prepping.
I am very quiet. I don't socialize very much at auditions until after my audition.
Yeah. Unless it's like one of my best friends. I'm like, oh, what's up?
Well, yeah. Or I'll say, hey, but then I'll be like, hey, like hang around after, like I want to chat with you or something.
Yeah.
But then I focus. But no, it was just very, I've experienced a lot of that standoffish competitiveness.
Sure.
And I don't feel that as much here. I mean, like I said, I haven't been here very long, but I definitely just in general feel a much more friendly vibe overall.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Which is really, really nice.
I mean, I agree. Like that's one thing that I love about this market. I mean, like I keep talking about, I love Atlanta, but like I love that. I think that's actually what I love the most about this market is that all of my not all of my friends, but a large portion of my friends are actors.
Yeah.
And like we do things together and we like go on trips together and we play sports together and we go to movies together and like all this other like we like plan things, party, like go to like parties and birthday parties and stuff like that together. And it's like that's really cool that the community here embraces that. And like it seems to flourish from it as well. Because like we create content together and like we're producing podcasts together and things like and that's really cool to me about this market.
It's special.
Yeah.
It's definitely a special.
And I hope it stays this way.
Yeah, me too.
I hope it does. I don't know like, when the market changes, like as it
will
grows,
always ebb and flow.
Of course.
But I hope it stays this way too. I mean, that was such a breath of fresh air for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm sure many other people who come from other markets where they come from. But but yeah, so what I was gonna say, you mentioned you had some tricks and some hacks for like when you're feeling really impatient about something.
Yeah.
What give us all the secrets?
Oh yeah, secrets. All the secrets. I have so many secrets. So yeah, as far as secrets for being patient and for knowing that timing is something that you don't really have control over. So I think the best thing is having a life outside of acting and outside of this business. And, like I said, I've got another job that I do and that keeps me busy.
Same.
But also like I have passions that I follow. Like I'm an avid reader. I'm a video gamer. Like I'm a huge outdoorsman. I get outside every chance that I can. Like right now I want to go camping right now. So
do you want to, you can just go.
Okay. Bye. Peace.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it's okay.
Rude.
Joking. Do a podcast with her is fun. So like just having things outside of the business that you do, and the reverse side of that is when you have a life outside of it, it actually makes you a better actor. Yeah. So there's that too. Like the thing is that this is not my whole fucking life. It's not.
Right.
And the thing is like I have family and I have friends who are outside of the business. And I have their things that I love to help with. Sure. And, like I have, other things that I do. Like I love this and I think it brings value to my life. Right. And I think it brings value to the lives of those around me. And like, if I didn't believe in it, and I didn't believe in like the power of narrative, because that's what we are. We're storytellers. Absolutely. And like, this is one of the oldest professions in the history of the world. And so that's something that's really cool to me. Is like being a part of that tradition for one. because I think the thing that I enjoy the most is story.
Yeah.
And whether I'm a part of it or whether I'm experiencing it,
Right.
it's something that moves me. And so I love reading, and I love like fantasy based stuff, you know,
me
like,
too.
and I love that kind of stuff, and like just being a part of a story, you know, a new narrative, and like learning about characters, and like it's just fun, and like, so I think that having stuff outside of the business is pivotal.
Right. It not only helps you deal when you are having a slow period or waiting on something, but it actually will make your business as an actor better.
Sure. Like as actors, like we get in this like sort of rut.
Right.
And if we're not currently involved in something, like we like lose our identity.
Yeah.
And like if I'm not working on something, I'm not producing something, I'm not in a show, I'm not in a TV thing or commercial gig or whatever, like I don't know who I am anymore. And I used to get like this all the time.
I think it's hard, especially when you're, I mean, I guess for some people it goes on into many years of being in it, but for a lot of people in those early stages.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, so there are two things, and I'll come back to one, because if this is your entire identity, then I would say that you're setting yourself up for failure, for one, because this is a very hard business. And like my youngest sister, she said that she wanted to be an actor the other day, and I was like, don't, no, because she has talent for writing, and she's an artist, and the thing is, like, we've been talking about this in my acting class, is like being willing to admit that you're an artist. Like, we are artists.
Yeah.
And, you know, I like both of my younger sisters, they're painters, and like, you know, they're sketchers, and they have a talent for that I do not. And I have encouraged my youngest sister, and, you know, whatever she wants to do, like, you go for it, girl. Like, you do your thing, like, you know, and you go there and you kick ass, and you dig in and do it. And like, whatever you put your hands to, like, make it great. But I've encouraged her, like, this is a very, it's a very inconsistent business. And, you know, there are so many things that are out of our control.
Yeah.
And if you can find something that still gives you that creative high, or, you know, allows you to meet that deep need inside yourself to like create, then, especially if you can do it through writing or something that you have more control over, and maybe you don't, I could be speaking out of turn here as a writer, but at least there you have the ability to create something that you have at least a little bit more ownership over.
Sure.
And so as actors, like, I think that you have to have stuff outside of the business. And I think that you also just have to dig in when it's slow, because it's going to ebb and flow. That's what this business does.
Absolutely.
And so I think you have to dig in, and you have to get in class, you know, create things with your friends, you know, write out a screenplay, write out short films, write music, like,
work on an aspect of acting that is less familiar to you. Like I talked to some people who had never done improv before.
Go do improv.
It's like, go do that. Or,
because that's going to help you. Like, there's been so many times that I've been on set, like, and this is on film and TV stuff too. And like,
improv is like my secret weapon.
And then it becomes part of the script.
Yep.
And like, I remember I was doing a film, and we were doing this scene. It was like a wedding reception scene. And the main actress, that like the scene was pretty much focused on her. And, you know, I was playing her husband, and she had this whole speech. She was thanking her family, and like, it was all scripted, right?
This is in The Mule, which was just released in feature films. Yeah. Starring Clint Eastwood and Austin Freeman.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not starring, but I mean, so like in that moment, it was really cool, because the actress, her name is Thaisa Farmiga, and she's a very successful actress. She's a series regular on American Horror Story and a bunch of other things. So she has all these scripted lines, and my character, her husband, I'm just standing there, and like, script wise, you know, it makes sense. You're there, like, she's speaking. She's the speaking one, and like, we're there, we're just kind of toasting everybody. And she does this speech, and then, I mean, the camera's still rolling, and everything's rolling, and she just handed me the microphone, and so like, I just improv the speech, you know, like off the cuff, like,
thank you, and
thanked everybody, and I had fun, and toasted to Clint, and to his character, whose name was Earl in the movie. And after we cut, I saw the script supervisor walking over to me. I was like, oh shit, she's about to eat me up. And then she came up and she was like, "Thank you for doing that." And she's like, "It's so strange, like just your character to not be like talking and like doing something." And I
At
was
his
like,
own wedding.
"Yeah," and I was like, "That's what I thought."
Right.
And so she's like, "Keep doing it."
They kept that in, didn't they?
They did not actually.
Wait, what?
So
wasn't there a toast? Oh, she did the toast.
yeah. So they kept the scripted part,
Okay.
and so. And I was kind of bummed about it at first. I was like, "Oh man, I was going to like actually increase my lines. That's cool." But this is another thing. It's like that was a success moment on the day when we're on set. Everybody loved it. I did it a couple more times throughout filming. Make sure it's okay with your director.
Yeah.
Step one.
Yeah.
You know, because if they say no, stick to the script. Do what they say. It's their movie. It's not yours.
Right.
So you stick to the script.
Know the moment.
Yeah, and so on this particular project, they encouraged it and they said keep doing it. I said okay, and so I did it in multiple other scenes, and it was cool because on another scene I did it and I was able to I got a close up out of it, and like when scripted wise it was just a wide and then like close ups on her, and then so I just added a line, and like Clinton was like, "Oh, that's really good." And then so the camera crew came over, boom, did a close up on me. I was like, "Oh, this might make it." It didn't, but this is another, I think, another lesson that, and this is for actors of all, like all phases of the business. You can have a success, and then it can be cut out. Like most of my, like I had like 2 other scenes of the movie that were cut out entirely. It's like okay, but once you see the story arc, once I saw the story arc, it made sense for that to be gone because it did not serve the story. It did not serve the protagonist growth.
Sure.
And so it's like at that point it's just fluff, and it would have made the movie worse.
But I still think that just because it was cut doesn't diminish the success that it is. No. That moment for you and what you learned and what everyone else got to see you be able to do. Yeah. Like that is still a success, even if it didn't make.
And this is the power of improv. Like this is the power of saying yes and just rolling with it.
Yeah. Like, that's honestly, absolutely.
And I think that's really smart. And so if you can do that, like that's actually one thing that I saw Clint do a lot was he's very much, and like he's 88, he may be 80, I don't know when his birthday is, so he may be older than that now, but when we were shooting he was 88, and he was just always just off the cuff, and it was just like I was like, wow, like
keeps it fresh.
Every take was different, and I guess that makes it hard for your scene partner sometimes, but
sure.
But the thing is, it's like if you're both in it,
trained in improv.
if you're in it, you can take the ebb and the flow, and you can learn to like just move with it. And like it creates a beautiful, like really incredibly dynamic new scene every single time. What I was saying,
that's one of those techniques that helps encourage God to walk through the room and make that magic.
Yeah, for sure.
It can. Yeah. I mean, obviously, sometimes you get some bad takes, but like you also
you set yourself up and use a good one.
You could also find a beautiful moment that wasn't originally scripted too. But yeah, I would say definitely, I completely agree with you. Having a life, and I've talked about this on another episode as well, having a life outside your career is so important. It also just, beyond giving you things to distract yourself with.
Oh, sure.
It gives you more in your acting toolbox. And it also just like makes sure that I feel like you stay grounded and balanced in your self-worth and where your head's at and your ego and all of that as well.
Absolutely.
What I do as well for like the short-term kinds of things, like in the moments, because even if you have been, maintaining that balance in your life of activities and like things that you're spending your time on, we all have those moments where for whatever reason that day or in that moment, it just gets you.
Oh, sure.
And you're feeling impatient as heck and you're antsy. And I find that when I get in those moments, it's because I'm thinking way too much about things that haven't happened yet, things that I'm not promised will happen. Correct. And I am 100% with 2 feet out the door in the future. Yeah. And I'm forgetting about what's happening in the present moment. And I think if you, take a minute to refocus and whatever that is for you, I am a big proponent of meditation. Even if it's just like I call them little mini meditative moments throughout your day, like 1-2 minutes where you just shut your eyes and recenter on that present moment. It helps you kind of, take stock of everything that's happening around you right now. Right. Maybe it isn't related to the thing that you're feeling really impatient about, but it's probably still important. Sure. And you might miss something if you're too busy being impatient. Absolutely. About something else that hasn't even happened yet or might not even happen. And that's with acting. That's with everything in life. I mean, if you're worried about, oh, well, I messed up this audition, then like, who gives a shit? It's done. Right. And like, all that energy that you're
right.
wasting on that, you could be putting towards your next audition,
Yeah,
or your next meeting,
or like enjoying this delicious ass burger that's in front of you, or whatever, you know.
Hell yeah!
And so like stuff like that, like that's what our job is living in the moment, and like, you know, there's all kinds of, you know, stuff that comes with that, right?
Sure.
But the point is like that's how you become better at acting, anyways, is living here currently. You're not worried about what's in the future. You're paying attention to your scene partner, for one. You're focusing on them. You're drawing that connection, and then you're telling the story now. And I think that's actually, so I'll tell you one of my, and like this is a secret weapon that works for me. And I do this before I go into the room. I do this when I'm taping auditions. Like there's a couple of different ways that I've heard it. So there are some people whose thought is, you're not going to book this, right? Yeah, you're never going to book it. And so when you book it, you're like, oh shit, sweet. You're surprised and you're happy.
It's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. And so like,
expectation.
I don't like that as much, because then you're almost setting yourself up for like, it's never going to happen or whatever. Right. And like, it may have a negative effect on you.
Sure.
My phrase, and this is something that my teacher, like, and I'm going to give a plug for my teacher as well. So I'm training with this guy's name is Josh Doherty.
Lovely man.
Amazing. Great, incredible actor, good friend of mine. And I train with him every Monday. And this is something that we do together. And this is like, actually, it's the first rule of our class. And it's fuck them. Like, this is something that I do before I go into any audition, before I tape. I just say, fuck this. Like, and it frees me.
Right.
Because at the end, I'm saying, and like, this needs to be set in context. Because I don't want people to take this the wrong way.
Right.
But I say, fuck the agents, fuck casting, fuck the directors, fuck the producers, fuck everybody. Like, stop worrying so much.
Right.
Let that shit go.
Just to remind, not in an angry way, but
like,
just to remind yourself that in that moment for your audition, none of that matters.
Yeah, and like the thing is like none of that serves the character, right?
Right.
And so the thing is, and like this is why I give the caveat, because I love all those people,
right? And
like they give me the chance to tell their story. But like when it comes down to it, like actors are a part of their story. Mm-hmm. Like this is what I tell like younger actors, and like I'm still a young actor too. Yeah. I'm not even 30 yet, so like I tell people like when we're on set, this is the director's gig, man. Right. Like you're a piece of this puzzle.
Teeny tiny piece.
And you can be a great piece, and you want to shine, you want to kick ass in your role because that's your job. That's what you were hired to do. But like
you're not the most important piece, really.
And even if you are, like, even if you're the protagonist, even if you're the lead of this whole story, like you're just a piece.
Right.
And like kick ass, do your job. But guess what? The producers are giving the money to it. The director is bringing it all together into a cohesive story and image, right? Mm-hmm. And so
the entire crew is there to make sure you even
give love to your crew, man. Like they work harder than you. They work harder than you. They're there longer than you. They have to put up with more shit than you. They have to stand out in the sun and the rain and all that shit when you have a nice comfy trailer.
Decent.
And like that's the thing. Love your makeup, your hair and makeup people. Love your lighters. Like love all your electricians.
Seriously.
Love your like everybody.
They make it happen.
Love the people that do crafty for you. Love the PAs because when it comes down to it, they are the blood of the business.
Absolutely.
And like we're the sparkle on top sometimes. Yeah. Like and like it's really cool that we get to do that. And like we get so much more recognition than them. So like I stand behind our crew
100%.
1,000, like 100,000% because they are the ones that make this shit happen.
Yeah.
And so when I say fuck them, right? When I go into the room, it's in no way to diminish that. It's to say, stop worrying about that shit.
Just lay it all out there.
Let it all go.
Yeah.
Go in, be free, do your thing, have a good time, make a fool of yourself because who gives a shit? Like in the end of the day, they want to make something fun and like, you know, and like tells a story or sells a product or whatever you're doing, depending on the audition.
Right.
So like that, I think there's so much power in that. You say, fuck it. You go in the room, you do your thing and you walk in and say, fuck it. You go get an ice cream, get a beer, get whatever you want. Go kiss your kids, go walk your dog, have a good time. And like, understand that this is art.
Right.
And at the end of the day, like your art is yours and it's yours alone. And you present it and you give them a preview of it and let them pay you to do the rest.
Exactly. So. I love that. Yeah. I heard him say that one time. And I love that. And I've said that before too, just for various reasons. When I go into the room, same kind of idea, I guess, but and even if I'm just at home or if I am doing one of those like little meditative moments or something, my phrase is, I have everything I need to do this.
Sure.
I have everything I need to do this.
That's a much more positive way than what I say.
Yeah. Well, so for me, for me though, like that to me doesn't feel negative at all.
No. Yeah, and like it's empowering. That's the whole point.
It's really empowering, and
none of that shit
matters. Yeah, and that's
none
why I think
matters.
They're similar. Is it's like I have everything I need to do this. Like
you're in the room for a reason,
right? You're reminding yourself that you have trained for this. You have prepared. You have done the work. You deserve to be there. And that's it. Like you have everything you need to do this. You have everything you need to do that audition, and then. But also, like I like it beyond that in terms of, if you are in one of those moments of severe impatience, like you have everything you need to get through that moment.
Sure.
You have everything you need to refocus. Because I think we kind of underestimate ourselves too, even with those very basic kind of tackling of an emotion or tackling of a season.
Sure. And like that's a really good point to I think maybe even end on. Like in this business, this business is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And so to those, and like, I'm listening to another podcast right now, and like the first 5 episodes, they were talking about, should I quit this business? And maybe you should, and maybe you shouldn't. And here's why I would suggest hanging on just a little bit longer, pushing just a little bit harder, because I've noticed for me, and like, I don't have a long career yet, but I've noticed for me, it's in those moments when I'm almost like, man, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't know if I can do this again. Yeah. And then I book something. And it happens almost like clockwork every time.
Isn't that funny?
Because I'm like, I think that's when I'm like, well, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
And I think that's why you need that fuck it attitude all the time.
Absolutely.
Because of the fact that if you're like, oh, well, I'm so good and I've trained and I've done all this, like, no, that's ego. Get it out of there.
Right.
Or like if you're on the opposite end, like, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to make it. That's fear. Right. Fuck that shit.
Do you know who I feel perfectly embodies that fuck it kind of attitude?
Yeah.
Jason Momoa.
Oh, for sure. I love that dude.
I feel like he lives his life like that.
Jason Momoa is like the most beautiful man on the face of the earth, too, which is unfair, and I hate him for it.
He just radiates like
but
love.
He's like so goodness, man. Good for that dude.
And I feel like I can see him really.
Oh, for sure. He just has fun, just like,
he's just like, I'm here to like have a blast.
And that's why he plays amazing characters, and like he's fucking Aquaman and Khal Drogo and all these other crazy things, right?
Oh yeah. Anyway, sorry, Jason Momoa tangent.
Yeah, that's fair.
Love you.
Yeah. It's like the thing that always circles back to it. Love you too, Jason. Do you think? But I think that is something to really take from it is keep knocking.
Yeah.
And if you decide that you want to pursue other things, acting is not the whole world.
Sure,
it's not. And guess what?
And if you set yourself up with having that well-rounded lifestyle, then you're not going to struggle with that either.
And the thing is too, like if acting has done what it needs to do for you, and you may not know what that is yet,
right.
And if it's done that, if it's solved that issue for you or whatever, and you feel like you can walk away, then walk away.
Yeah.
But if you love what you do and you're digging in and you're enjoying the work, just keep doing it. Do it for the work.
Right.
And like, don't worry about pay your bills, obviously. You got to pay that somehow. Serve or like freelance or have a 9 to 5 or whatever you need to do to pay your stuff. But if this does something for you, and if it addresses something within you, and like you're able to create something like that, for me, like the reason why I'm in this business is because it's what I'm best at.
Yeah.
And like,
and you love it.
And I love it. And like the thing is I'm a very capable person. Like I could go do something else.
Sure.
I could be the best whatever X, Y, or Z out there. But acting for me is the thing that I think I am the best at. And because of that, like I want to bring that to the industry. It doesn't need me.
Right.
I don't need it, but I love it. And I think that is the place to be.
Absolutely.
And I think maybe that's the point to take away from all of this is figure out your place within this bigger picture.
Yeah.
Don't let it define your whole life.
Right.
And enjoy that shit because this is like they pay us to look like this, whatever way you look like, whether it's good or bad.
Yep.
And they pay us to sell a product or pay us to tell us a bit of a story or
sing a jingle on a voiceover for a commercial.
Right. And like that is the coolest thing in the world to me. Because like I've had jobs where I'm digging a ditch.
Yep.
that shit's hard. It's real hard.
He means literally.
No, I literally do.
Like literally.
Yeah. I grew up in the surveying business. I know what it's like to be digging all day long and cutting through forests in the middle of a 115 degree, 50% humidity in Georgia. Mm. That's hard work. And this is hard work in a different way.
Sure.
And I like telling the story.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you seriously so much for taking the time to chat with us and to share your experiences. And I know everyone watching this will find it really useful, and cool. I always enjoy having your company as well. So thank you very much. But how can people connect with you? How can people find you online?
I mean, you can look me up on Instagram. It's at Austin Freeman, AustinFreeman. You can connect with me through my agents at Atlanta Models and Talent. I think there's just like contact at amtagency.com. Just look up amtagency.com.
I'll link all of his links in the show notes
you can look me up on Facebook, Austin Freeman. I don't really do a whole lot of Twitter. I'm not very good on that. But
Twitter's kind of on the way out anyway.
Yeah, I think so too.
Instagram though.
Yeah, look me up on Insta.
He's very active on Instagram.
Yeah, look me up on that. And then I mean I got shows coming out and stuff like that too. So some I can't reveal yet, but and then hoping to get some calls soon about some other stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's always that's the potential.
Yeah. Well, you'll definitely see his face around some more. Let us know in the comments what lesson from this you took away that was the most important to you that you hadn't heard before, or if you're on Team Fuck It. Actually, let us know if you're on Team Fuck 'em, because that I would love to see. I don't know about you guys, but I loved that episode. It was such a blast to film. Austin did an amazing job and was so helpful sharing his story and some tips that he's learned along the way. I can't tell you guys how important it is to celebrate your story and your journey. No matter where you started, where it's taken you along the way, use those things that you've learned and celebrate how far you've come, because all of that comes together and makes you who you are. So I hope that you're celebrating you today. But also I want to know, like I said, are you part of Team Fuck 'em? Because Austin and I are, and I think it's an awesome philosophy. But if not, let me know why. What don't you like about it? Or what kind of mantra do you use instead of fuck 'em? As always, you can contact me through my Instagram at Alison_Haselden, or leave me a comment on whatever platform you're listening on, and I would be happy to reply. Many people have asked me how they can support the show. The best way that you can support It's a Slate of Mind podcast is by sharing with your friends. If you have a friend who you think would benefit from the message of that episode, send it their way. This show is all about community, so we love to see these episodes getting shared within the communities of entertainment industry professionals around the country. But that's all for us today. I'm your host, Alison Haselden. This has been It's a Slate of Mind. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Well, friends, that's it for this week's episode of It's a Slate of Mind. I'm Alison Haselden, and thank you for joining us. See you next time.